Um, Literally, just anything can work, just about. Maybe you have a medic friend that you want to make a tree for. Have like the little medikits and little cots, the medical curtain, and then get one of those decors that has the red little plus sign that shows up and use that as the topper. I don't know if that would really work, but it's just, the thought. There's a lot of ways you could go with, if someone has a specific um, uh, class or path that they really favor, and it's all about their character, and especially for the role players, if they're looking for something like for a Tua, maybe their tree would be all dangerous, weaponry and rockets. You could have rockets and darts and things like that on your tree. Excuse me. Let's see. If you want to fashion your own ornaments, I have tried, I experimented with like using the domes, having two domes together to make ornaments. The only thing is they're such dull, bland colors. It's like, the gray for the orange one, and the brown for the exile one. They're not very pretty, and they don't show up really well against the tree, because I had originally started to use those for the one in the mall, but it just didn't pop like the windows do, so I kind of left that. But maybe the type of tree that you use, they show up a little better, like maybe the darker green here, the different shade, maybe it pops a little better. Again, if you're draking, you could have those new hanging skulls that we've got on the strings. Those will work really nicely as ornaments. Maybe a theme of hanging things. We got the hanging lizard, the hanging fruit, the hanging intestines, if you want to get really nasty with it. Pillows, if you want to stick kind of orany, you could go with pillows or hugels. Just have them sitting in the tree. What else? I mean, there's just really, it just depends on the theme that you want, and then you just kind of brainstorm. Well, what would be good at representing that, and what would work well. I mean, you don't want to have something that you have to hide a lot of the parts of. It wouldn't need to be something that, the easier it would be to just kind of have it as a standalone and not worry about having to hide anything, the better. So, you don't want to like pick too many things that you don't want the whole thing showing, because that gets kind of awkward. I don't know what gun cotton is. But yeah, really anything kind of white. I mean, if you're doing like a candy house, like Nelly and them did with their gingerbread house. If you're wanting kind of a snowy landscape, but you don't want it to be actual snow, you could use like toilet paper as marshmallows or something, like they did with the hot cocoa. The only thing is, the toilet paper does have that little center thing that's kind of showing. I guess that would make cleanup really easy. I'll have to look that up. I've never heard of gun cotton, but I guess it's highly flammable, huh? That would be kind of hazardous, I think. Excuse me. Also, too, when you're looking at objects, this is something you could very, viably use as an ornament, but again, it's kind of a bland color. Most of the time when I'm looking for ornament kind of things, I'm going for brighter colors. Like, if I'm going with the foods, most of those are pretty bright. You got the banana that's nice and bright. The toast is a little bland, but I think the decoration of it uh, allows it to pop even with the brown colors. But like the meats, the steak and the marbled ham hock or whatever it is, those are pretty bright on their own. Um, the berries, the brown one, maybe not so much. Probably just depends on the color of the tree that you're using, but definitely the marauder berries, I think is what they're called, purple ones. Those would work all right. Um, yeah, anything that you're like the plants, you want to go for the really bright ones. This one I probably wouldn't use because it's kind of dreary looking anyway. It's that kind of monotonous looking, sad looking. You want to go for the oranges and the yellows and the reds and the bright greens and the purples and whatever. That's nice and shiny. That would make a good ornament. Very bright, coppery looking. The Drake and Cauldron is another nice, bright, coppery looking thing. This I probably wouldn't use because it's gray, sad looking, the poor little thing. You could do a whole moody kind of theme, have the moody mask. There's the feathered one, and then there's the one that's just it doesn't have any feathers or horns or anything, it's just the mask itself. Um, then there's like probably some other moody things that you could use along with it if you want a moody theme. Skeech, we have the banner, and well, I don't know, you might get away with using the little goodie bags. It'd be kind of gross to have on a tree because people probably want to be popping the little goodie bags, but you might could get it to work if you shrink them down enough, and most of the wooden sticks and stuff are kind of tucked into the tree, maybe. Fences, maybe not so much, but fence posts you could probably get away with. Although that one might not look so pretty. What else do we got? You could go all wintry and use the new icicles on your tree. You'd use the singles or the groups or however you want to do it. Instead of a string of lights, you could have a string of icicles going around. Might be some, finagling trying to get it to lay just right, but it's probably possible. The glasses, I probably wouldn't use those either because they're, again, kind of a bland color. They're shiny, but they're kind of a bland color. It might not show up very well against the tree. You could go and use rocks if you want. Like you could use the snow clumps as well if you just want little white bits on your tree. Cables and chains and things like that, again, they're that gray color. Normally I would stick away from that kind of stuff, but again, it really depends on the color of your tree. If you don't even have to make a leafy, grassy type tree. You could just use maybe some domes and just tear them up and make like a solid tree, and then just have some things kind of inset that might be easier to hide a lot of the parts that you don't want seen. If you just want one little bit showing, you could do it that way and make a solid tree. You could go kind of Egyptian and have a pyramid for a tree, like that if you want, I guess. Paintings and stuff, I think it depends on which paintings you have that you want to use, because some of them have the nail on the little cookie thing. maybe you just have a particular picture like the Hugel um, portrait. Just use it. It's nice and bright yellow, and it's orangey if you're going for an orange theme, so that might work okay. Um, I don't know. I think we've covered most of the ideas. Excuse me. You know, maybe you have someone that's into cars or vehicles of any sort, tires. There's the little dressers, the garage themed dressers, and the lamp and table. Just shrink those down and make them little decorations. That would work all right. Wow, that thing's loud. You could just get a couple of these, sandwich them together, and call that a yellow orange banana tree. Kind of look like bananas. Now, if yours is a warrior type friend, a lot of swords, things that maybe look like shields would work. If you really want to get nasty with it, you can go with a strain type of decoration, lots of little eyeballs all over it. Really, you could just go with anything you want. Just depends on your needs, you know, if you're looking for a particular theme or a particular color. Like if you want everything to be purple specifically, then you'd want to just go through and find everything that purple colored. You could use eggs if you want. The singles probably work the best. Excuse me, I kind of got hiccups right now. Excuse me. But yeah, so just about anything would probably work. Just depends on what you're going for. I think we'll go ahead and remove this one since I don't have any extras for it. And we're going to go with, what theme do we want for this one? I think we'll go with nature. We'll just do some flowers. So I'm going to look in the plants. What kind of plants do I have on hand? The really ugly kind, apparently. Probably this one would be the best because it'd be the brightest. Nice and lovely orangey yellow. It's not necessarily a Christmassy color, but it's probably the easiest to get a hold of. This would probably work too, since it's red. It's similar to the habanero bushes. The only problem is you'd have to hide the base. Or we could go with the yellow flowers. The only trouble with them is sometimes they're angled kind of funny. I think we'll go with the weeping cut flowers. Those are pretty, and they're white. I kind of like the idea of having a lot of white. So we'll go with that. And we're just going to start sizing them down. We'll pick a size that we like. We'll sink it mostly in, so it's not like the plant is like super sticking out from the tree. So it's really going to be just a few of them showing, but I don't want it like completely filled like a topiary kind of thing. And then we'll just start duplicating, rotating. And positioning them around. what I may do is add a few more like different colors of flowers, but I think I'm going to stick with white for now. If you can get a hold of the weeping cup flower, the grouping of it rather than these little individuals, you could try that. It'll coat it a little more solidly though. I use that on the topiary that I have in the store on my main. It worked really nice. It looks like it's a flowering bush rather than just a clump of green stuff. Notice I'm not changing the size of the flowers. I'm just changing the rotation, the position, the angle of them. But I want them all pretty much the same size. And I'm spacing them out a little bit. I don't want this to be overly full. This one I may actually have to size down just a little bit because I don't want the bush to be sticking out the back too much. But I don't want the white flowers to be poking out the front too much either. So like this, a little bit. And while most people aren't really going to look at the back of the tree, I still kind of decorated up kind of most of it. At home, for real life, our tree is tucked into a corner. So we don't even have all the limbs on it. You know, like I said, it's a fake one. So like 1/4 of it is bare, but you can't really see it because it's, like I said, it's kind of like just tucked into the corner. So got all the branches to the side and to the front, but there's nothing in the back. And you know, we just only have to worry about the parts that you're actually looking at. So kind of like a cheat, like a hack or something, not having to decorate the whole thing. But those that have like a tree that's more like in the center, in the open, and you can like see the whole way around, you definitely want to make sure you look at the tree from all angles to make sure you've got all the covered, you know, all the bits hidden up nicely. But definitely start with your lights first, and don't just look at it while they're off. Make sure you turn them on before you do anything else, and check out how it looks in the dark, or when it's like a little not as brightly lit in the room, because that'll give you a better idea if you've got it nice and evenly spread, or if you have like some really big gaps or something. That really helps to kind of pay attention. Okay. Let's copy this one, I guess, since it's already the right size. Like I said, I don't want to overdo it too much, but you kind of want to get, I don't know, you just kind of eyeball till you get the feel of it being enough. like, see, I need at least a couple on this side, so. Come on, rotate for me here. Do I have any plans for after the holidays? Probably we'll start looking into Valentine's Day kind of things. I know, whoops, my shoe's coming off. Um, I know Carbine has already got a few Valentine-y type of decor that is in the database, but they actually haven't been set to um, be, obtainable yet. Um, but that would probably be the next big holiday, I think. So be thinking about, how you would decorate things. I've seen a few players make like heart-shaped things. I know that Kilev, I think it is, that did the Alice in Wonderland type theme for the Queen of Hearts area. They've got some banners or something that they use to make little heart shapes for some of the wall decoration and things like that. And I have seen one, they try to do a romantic kind of uh, honeymoon resort kind of thing. Unfortunately, I didn't get to tour their place because just as I was getting ready to, they shut their plot off to private. So, but they had like a love bed. So it was two pillows, I think, and they just made it the shape of a heart for this little bed thing. Um, but it's kind of limited on what you could use that might look Valentine-y. Because again, we're kind of limited on decor that would suit that. The Tua pillow, of course, is red, and then you've got the balloons that are red, but they're not always. Neither piece is universally usable for everything. Just because of their shape and everything, it might not be suitable for whatever you're needing. Beyond that, though, I really haven't got any specific plans in mind. The Winterfest thing will probably carry on into January. I think the event itself goes on until, I'm not sure when it ends. I know it starts the 16th, but I forget when they've got it slated to actually end. But like the housing competition that Nilia is running, it's going to go, and the winner's not even going to be announced until the January 10th. So all the way up until then, I'll probably be talking a little bit of holiday stuff because as the new decor comes out and people start getting a feel for some of the things they can do with it, even beyond the actual use for Winterfest, then we'll probably be discussing new ideas for that. I will continue to work on adding new and different things to my Protostar Sky Plaza. That was one of the goals of that build, was so that I could, while I don't have to necessarily build it all from scratch, it would be something that I can change out things. So like the paintings that I have in the art shop, for example, if I get tired of those or I want to add some new ones, that's easily done. You can just remove them and say, okay, that was gone. Let's try something different. As far as big, I don't know if I have anything big in mind. If I do, it will probably be more like maybe a summer project. I'm really kind of steering more towards little things that I can cover in I don't know if people really enjoy watching me build the same thing for months at a time. We did that with like this plot. We streamed this entire build, and it took a while. I forget how many videos in total it took up, but just to sit there and listen to me rattling on about the same thing. I'm hoping that maybe by changing up a little bit about what we're discussing, it will keep more folks interested, and will help them kind of broaden their plans themselves as far as what they're working on. Um, but for those that prefer those kind of projects, the longer-ended projects, I'm not going to say I'm never going to do something like that again. I'm sure I will, because while the new Protostar Sky Plaza is intended that I don't have to rebuild the entire thing every time I turn around, I'm sure I will get the itch to do something a little bit more elaborate. I just don't have any specific ideas right now. Um, the uh, the interior rooms, like the skating rink and the beach, the inside beach, those would probably change up a little bit more. Um, so those would be like maybe medium-sized projects, I guess. It's just for me, when I do a build, I do a lot of little details that I like to add here and there, and that can go on for weeks, depending on how easily I can get a hold of something, the ideas that I'm able to think of, and the time that I have on my hands. So bigger projects are a little tougher for me. Um, and like I said, I really haven't come up with an idea. For me, when I do a big project, um, I tend to try and do something that I've not seen someone else do. Um, while now we're starting to see more and more kind of mall-themed buildings and structures, when I started mine, I hadn't come across one. So for me, it was new, different, unique kind of thing. Um, while I had seen other people do custom homes, I hadn't seen any like this, specifically built on stilts and having it, the transportation to it be a boat and that kind of thing, and it be fully custom everything, from the appliances to the doors to the beds. Everything in here is pretty much put together myself. The only exceptions would be some of the decorations here, like the bases and stuff. But like I even did the candle holder. That's 2 items. It's still custom. That's the kind of projects I like to do. And so far, I haven't really come across an idea that I haven't seen someone else tackle. We've got the bowling alleys and tons of bars and tons of space stations and saunas, like resort kind of types of things, a lot of restaurants and diners and things, a lot of city types of builds. Um, we've seen several like carnival circus type of builds, movie theaters. Um, if I come across an idea that I think that either I can pull off really drastically different than someone else, or that I haven't seen myself, either by visiting it personally or seeing somebody post about it, then maybe that would be the time for me to dust off my full build working clothes and decide to embark on a really major new project. But until then, I don't really foresee me doing something really big. It's going to be a lot of small stuff, just little ideas like the paintings and the hats and the lamps and things like that. Kind of keep it simple and seasonal. I want to kind of go with the seasons. Because while we got Winterfest now, even if they're not really celebrating any extra seasons in WildStar itself, there's Valentine's Day, there's Easter holiday, there's like back to school kind of stuff. If someone's looking to make a classroom, I've seen a few, but maybe people want to know, well, how would you approach making a desk or a black wall or a swing set, like a playground kind of thing. There's you could get into, well, there's always the Halloween and the Christmas again, of course, but like we did a little bit of Thanksgiving, even though they're not really doing that in the game, we do have a lot of players to celebrate that holiday, so that would be something. If I can come up with other ideas for other types of holidays or seasonal types of things, then I will definitely try and do those. Because I know a lot of people like to decorate the house in the game just like they do in real life. They want to kind of bring a little bit of that reality into it with the WildStar flair. Um, so yeah, I appreciate that folks like those kind of things, but I can't promise as far as when that might come about. And of course, it'll never be anything mechanical, I don't think, like a ship or anything like that, because I just don't have the imagination for that. I'm really bad at, when we were trying to do the subway station with the golf course. Oh my gosh, that was such a pain because I was so bad at trying to imagine what they might need for like control panels and stuff. I was like scanning every house that had any kind of mechanical anything, and I was like, how did they come up with this stuff? And it's like, what pieces did they use? And it's like, and I tried to mimic some of it, but it really didn't come off very good. I really hated that control room, but it was the best I could do myself. And it's like, well, it's like I'm sure some of those that do the spaceships and stuff, like for a full house build, they probably just laughed themselves silly over my subway train because it was really goofy looking, and that was like my fourth effort. It was like the best out of four tries, and it was like kind of embarrassing, but I did my best in trying to represent it as well as I could. But I'm definitely not mechanical at all. It's like for the winter thing, I thought about doing like a ski lift thing, and thankfully I didn't do that. I didn't give it an attempt because the one that we went to visit the other week, had a really nice one, and I was like, I never would have thought about using these pieces that they did. It's like, right, the couch, because I was thinking, how would I do the little, the chairs themselves? Would it be like, a lot of 2x4s? And they just used the sofa couches, and it worked perfectly. And I was like, I'm just overthinking it. So maybe that's my problem. I make it too complicated for myself, and I just kind of get lost in it. But some things I can kind of come up with ideas, and other things just like the landscaping. I'm horrible at putting together trees and plants to make them look like a natural setting, and just really bad with that. I'm better at smaller projects. Like when I did this house, this was like a really big out of my comfort zone because I had never did a full house custom build before. And I actually, in a way, kind of cheated. I did a lot of research with house plans, and the way I had to do it, I couldn't just start putting up a wall and say, okay, this is going to be this and that's going to be. I had to actually map out a floor plan on the ground of the plot so that I kind of knew where things were going to be, and then I kind of built it up from that. And even as I was building up, as you put in pieces and you see, well, they don't match up quite right, the right measurement, so you kind of had to adjust the shape of the house, because I think it was really meant to be a little bit more compact, and I just kind of elongated it just to suit the way I had put in the pieces. It's like the roof was a real pain in the rear, trying to figure out how I was going to do that. I know there's some people that will come in and they go, I don't like the ceiling. They don't like the way this looks. And it's like, well, it's not perfect, but I don't mind it really. But others, opt to use the flat floors, and just peak it to make it the shape that they want. But yeah, it's not really my thing with the big projects. Tough because I'm not an architect or anything, and I don't use mathematics to calculate, exact angles and positions. So a lot of my stuff, you'll see gaps and little things that are crooked because maybe I didn't, map it out really well. And so when it comes to like big projects, like especially like this house and the Protostar mall. I worried about how things would mesh well together because I don't use the math. Um, so like a lot of people, they'll talk about the staircase or the ramp that goes up to the second floor, how it looks and feels odd when you're going there. And I hope that doesn't die on me. Oh, there we go. How it looks weird because it goes from a double lane to a single lane as it goes up to the top. And that was the best I could figure out because I wanted it specifically to stop here because I was basically like lining everything up with the entrance, and I wanted the staircase or the ramp to begin right around here. But I also, it had to end flush with the inner circle here. So it kind of forced specific angles, and I could not get the right position with the specific pieces I was using because I was determined to use just the hover part pieces for the main body of this building. And so if you look really close, you can see there's a lot of things that don't match up perfectly. Like here's this line doesn't meet up with that line, even though it, in an actual construction, maybe it would. If you look really close here, like this one's a little offset from the one next to it and things like that. So it's not perfect, but it's close enough for me. So it's just one of those things you have to kind of either accept that it's going to be that way or, completely rebuild it. Which I didn't want to because I had already let out so much of it. I think the stairway was one of the last big pieces of the building that I put together. And maybe that's, in hindsight, maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I should have laid out the staircase, from early on. So it's things like that, when you're building, a lot of people get intimidated by it. It's like, well, even if you make mistakes, you learn from them. And, that's why whenever I did the interviews for some of the builders would ask me, in hindsight, would there be anything that you would change? So for me, that the answer to that question would probably be maybe I might have started or insert the stairway or the ramp a little earlier than I did, so I wouldn't have been so set in having it positioned in the way that it was. That kind of thing. It's just like originally I wanted this to be more like a 4-leaf clover where there was going to be 4 sections. And I got to thinking later if I wanted to add, like we have the Haunted House Fab Kit, I think there's a Protostar coming for Winterfest. And I have plans to actually purchase that. And so with that in mind, I was thinking, okay, where is that going to land? And I think it's going to be somewhere around here. I'm praying that if I decide to put it in, it doesn't destroy too much, because I will be very, very distraught and mortified if it ends up taking like a huge chunk of the building off or something. But I'm hoping that I left enough room so that when it gets put in, that it doesn't destroy too much. And I'm hoping that if it does mess up some of it, that Katya's add-on will help me patch it back together. But yeah, it's just things like that that while I do have a history of building full plot kind of things, those are pretty time consuming. And like I said, most of the time when I'm doing that, it's like I spend 3 or 4 months researching and planning it out long before I put even the first piece down. This mall thing, I think I've been thinking and playing around with the idea for this since last year sometime. Because I actually have a notebook of little ideas. I jot down notes of things that I think about, I'll see a new piece of decor or something. I go, that might could work for the, and I'll just jot down things that I think I could use it for or whatever. And I have actually a whole section of theme ideas. Some of those I shared in the forums a while back for other people that might be struggling trying to brainstorm up ideas. But I had them all the idea like way back when. It's just only in recent months that I decided, okay, now's the time I'm going to try and implement that idea. I feel like I have kind of a plan in mind that I might get to work with. Like I said, it was before I even realized Carbine was. I'm actually going with the Protostar all-out kind of mall theme themselves. It just kind of happened that mine kind of played into that. Even though mine really looks nothing like theirs, it's funny that we kind of had the same, train of thought kind of thing going on. Of course, my mall is going to be there even after Winterfest, but it was just kind of a weird coincidence. But yeah, I've got like tons of ideas still that one day I may decide that I'll give them a try. But like with the Proto Putt Park, I'm confident. I researched that one for like 3 months because I was like looking. I had originally started maybe I was going to try to make a replica of an actual Putt Park kind of thing, but I was having trouble with a lot of the hazards, trying to get them to look similar to what the real ones look like. And of course, at the time, we didn't have the water features like we do now. And I really wasn't in cahoots with Katia with her add-on and a lot of the stuff like with the wild ball field. So I just kind of built something up that kind of resembled a putt park. Nowadays, I would probably set it up differently because I think, I don't know if she's got it completed, but I think she's in the works of building up an actual golf mini game for WildStar, much like she did with the Wild Ball. She's wanting to do like Wild Golf or something, and make it so that the actual hazards behave a certain way when you engage it, like you do with the ball on the Wild Ball field. You hit it a certain way to go down the fairway or whatever, then the different kinds of hazards and stuff would react in a certain way depending on the angle and the speed and all that kind of stuff. I probably won't do a golf park again since I've already done one, and I really don't want to get into the hassle of trying to figure that out again. But it's fun to see others try the similar themes, and I think once her little mini game actually comes out, more and more people will probably think, hey, I could build a park or something. I think she's actually got other little mini games, but I haven't actually seen them in action, so I don't really know what they are or how they work or anything. And of course, we had the Wild Ball field, and it's still kind of a work in progress. I've kind of left it alone for a while because I really just didn't get the interest. There was, I would give a shout out when I was on the character and say, hey, the field is open for anyone that looks. And maybe out of several weeks of doing that, I might get one person to show up on the plot. A lot of people got to see it on the stream, but it was like nobody was interested in giving it a try. I got my guild to do it once. A few of them came out and did a couple of like practice matches, but that was about it. Partly maybe that's my fault because I'm not really big in sports and I don't have any clue of how to set up a tournament like Katia does. So that's probably a failing on my part. But when it comes to the add-ons and using those as a way to make your plot functional, I probably will not be getting into that too much. I will leave it to those that have a little bit more time on their hands, a little bit more enthusiastic about those type of things. But When it comes to like little personal decorations like these kind of things that I've been putting here at the store, I think I'm going to focus more on that kind of deal. Like it was tremendously fun coming up with 25 ideas for little decorations for this Advent house. It was kind of tough. As you know, I started getting down to the last few. I was like, wow, I can't think of anything to, I've already got the candy, I've already done an instrument, I've already done this. It's like I don't have anything else, and um, I managed though, and I'm hoping that that will kind of spur some ideas for other folks, later on, that might want to do something different. It's like for not this year's Easter, but the last one for my guild at the time, we did a Easter pillow hunt instead of Easter egg hunt. Now we could actually probably do an egg hunt since we actually have egg decor that we have, but I liked it because the pillows were different colors and I was able to hide them, and that's my kind of idea of interactive, just kind of hiding some stuff or maybe make a puzzle of some weirdness. I'd actually thought about trying to do like a whodunit thing once, but I couldn't figure out how to really effectively set it up. I could do a crime scene pretty easy, I'm sure, but how to make it into a game, I wasn't clear on. So maybe that's an idea for somebody, for next Halloween or something, do a mystery party theater kind of thing, and then make a game of it for your guild. That was an idea I had for this year, and I just couldn't ever put it together. I'd even considered maybe trying to do that for my family in real life, and it's like it just got to be more complicated and confusing than I was able to handle. So again, that wasn't a thing that came to be. So instead, I think we're just going to be playing Cluedo or something. But anywho, I think we're going to call it good for today. I appreciate you guys dropping in, making suggestions, and tagging along with me while I do a little bit of doodling here and there. While I don't plan on any big projects, I hope you guys stick with me anyway. Because, even if I'm not doing anything big, maybe something of these small things that I'm working on will help trigger some ideas for your own. You see all these little toys that I'm putting together, like the dolls and the marionette and the little gingerbread thing. Maybe somebody wants to open up a toy shop. Now they have a few extra ideas of what they could use, what they could, make. Obviously, some of my little windows here are cheating because some of the stuff is hidden in behind, but it still, can get the ideas going. And that's really what my stream is about, is trying to inspire folks to, if they haven't given housing a try, to give it a try, not to let it intimidate you. Really, anything is possible if you just have the time, the willingness, and don't let the mistakes bother you. It's a lot of practice. It's definitely not for everybody because it is a big time investment, generally speaking. That said, there are some builders that will say they will do a full pot build that makes your jaw drop, and they did it in a couple of weeks. And I'm like, what? Here it takes me months, to do something, to really finalize it, to call it done. And they're like, it just took me 4 hours. I just sat down and said, once I get on a roll, it all just kind of, it doesn't work that way for everybody. So don't feel like, if it doesn't work that way for you, don't feel bad. Because a lot of us, we have to work at it. And of course, a lot of my building, I try and build cheap, because I know there are a lot of new builders out there that don't have access to all of the fancy stuff, not even the renowned stuff. As a general rule, it takes time and effort to build up that bankroll and that reserve of renown and reputation vendor stuff to get all of those extra nifty stuffs. And while I do raid, I don't think I've gotten anything decor related from the raiding that I've done. I don't do dungeons on a regular basis. About the only 5-man content I do is veteran expeditions, and I do those by myself most of the time. Sometimes I get my husband to go with me, but general rule, that's about all I do. I mostly concentrate on contracts. I get my money that way, and that supplies my housing addiction. I buy things off of the AH when it's cheap. You know, I'll see stuff I want and I'll go, oh, I'll wait a week and see if it goes down, and sometimes I get lucky. But I try to use things directly off the housing vendor because I want beginner housers to realize you don't have to have the awesome, uber rare purple stuff from the bosses to make nice stuff. It doesn't mean I don't include those items in my builds. Obviously I have, because, you know, like the snowscape that I have up there, that's from boss drops. But a lot of the main stuff, like, you know, the construction of this building, that's all pretty much cheap materials. There's nothing fancy about it. Same way with this little house. It's just cheap stuff. But it's still fun. It's workable, you know, acceptable. And I just want folks to know that it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to build. The biggest cost is time. If you have time on your hands and you're willing to work on it, housing is definitely something you should give a look into. Anyway, thanks again for dropping in. A quick reminder: we do have the housing competitions in the wind. Black Dagger Society is running one for Entity Realm, and Venus Rising is running one for both regions, NA and EU, both factions for both. You can find the information linked in my resources section on the Twitch channel page. I think it's at the bottom of the list, both the links. I can tell you specifically that Venus Rising's entry submission, registration, whatever you want to call it, begins on the 19th of December. Winterfest hits on the 16th, so that means you get a few days to collect some of the new stuff to incorporate it into your build before you submit it for judging. Judging won't actually begin until the 27th. That is the end date of registration. So if you have plans to submit your house, 27th, that's your goal. Don't wait until after. By then, it's too late. Anyway, judging will begin on the 27th, and then, of course, the winner will be announced on the 10th. Now, that's for Venus Rising. I don't know the specifics about Black Dagger Society's one, partly because it's not anything that has to do with my realm, so I tend to not pay attention. But I know it's out there, so I wanted to kind of give a little heads up, and I do have a link to it. Now, there is another one, I think, on the French realm, or the French-speaking forum section. The only thing I think I know about that is it has a registration fee. I don't remember how much it is, but I think it's several plat, like 30, 40 or something like that. They wanted to have like a big pool of plat to give the winners of their competition. So if you feel comfortable in doing that and you have the funds to get into it, then, you know, more power to you. But for sure, the Black Dagger Society and the Venus Rising guilds are having theirs. As of yet, I haven't heard anything carbine-wise, so I don't know if there's any plans. I think Nelia tried to corner Cadium about it a couple of times, but never got a really solid answer per se. So there's just, you know, no information on that regard. If they do, then I will of course be promoting that one as well. Well, I have a bit more than that, Bones, but yeah, I don't know. When someone asks for an entry fee, it doesn't mean that they're not on the up and up, but I'm leery of that because, you know, especially if I don't know them, it feels weird having to pay, you know, for it, kind of thing. But, you know, a lot of guilds do it, and in the French community, they might have a pretty good reputation. So I really can't say one way or the other. That is just something I know that it's out there. I've seen a few people tweet about it, and I thought I'd mention it because it's a community thing, it's housing related, and if people want to find out more about it and they can speak French and can read the rules and everything, then they can have a little bit more bones. Well, see, you need to do the contracts and stuff. Do you do those pretty regular? I try to at least do a few a day, but it's because that helps once you get all the prizes from that top tier reward bag. Then when you complete the top tier from then on, you get like a 5 plat ProtoStar voucher, like IOU kind of thing, and so that works out nicely. I mean, it's like once a week I get that, but 5 plat here, 5 plat there, and that adds up. Well, see, Campo, that's just, priorities. If your priority is raiding or PvPing or anything, yeah, clearly your housing funds are going to be a little skimpy, but, that's, again, one of the reasons why I like to build cheap when I'm showcasing a lot of things that I do. Because usually, 50 gold here might not feel like such a pinch if, you're wanting to spend most of your funds elsewhere. It's just like, a lot of people think, well, if I'm a raider, then I don't have time for housing. I know a lot of raiders that they have like some pretty elaborate houses. It really just depends on how much time you have available. For those that only can play on the weekends and only can play certain hours of that weekend, then yeah, if they're all about raiding, then they probably won't be giving a lot of time to housing. Like I said, it's not for everybody. Not only because of the cost investment, but the time investment mostly is the biggest issue. A lot of people just don't have, all days of the hours like myself to, sit here and doodle with, all these little decor pieces. But for those of us that do and can find, a little bit of time here and there, an hour here, half an hour there, you can eventually, work something out, especially if you have a kind of a plan in mind. If, like my husband, he's trying to build. I've been having to restrain from getting onto his plot and saying, here, let me just do it for you, because it's like agony watching him try to move stuff around and everything. But, I know that's, again, it gives me a good insight as to how it was when I first started, trying to learn, because there's a bit of a learning curve even on how to use the tools that we have available. Especially if you decide to pick up the add-ons that we have, like Katya's add-on or Lament's add-on. Even those have large learning curves. And it was so torturous watching my husband try to mess with his, and he doesn't use the add-on, so he's using just the basic advanced controls in the game. And I was like, I can't look anymore because, I just want to say, just move it, just pull use the arrows. And he's like, huh? And he has no idea, no plan. He's just starting to put things on the ground. So his kind of looks like the usual ones that I try to avoid. That looks like, the garage sale kind of plot where everything's just stuck out there, because he was mostly interested in getting the buff bonuses. And that's how you start out. You start out kind of, because like a lot of the old stuff that I've done, I have videos of some of my earlier homes, and I'm like, oh, that's so bad, and I thought it was like really cool back in the day. It's like now it's like, oh, that's so awful. Well, if you want to go for the ultimate housing add-on, Campo, go for Katya's Builder Toolkit. You can find it on Curse. It's one of the most popular, and it is, dare I say, a must-have if you plan on really getting into housing for any kind of seriousness. Even casual players will probably find it really helpful, because basically it's an add-on that, let me just pull it up here. Oops. Gotta spell her name right. It has a copy, paste, clone feature. You have linking features with it. You can make sets. Like I have an entire set of this entire plot. So like if I was to create everything right now, I could literally rebuild it exactly like it is with a click of a button. But the biggest things, my favorite things, are the sets where you can, like, say I want to save this. Let's just say I want to save the Christmas tree or the holiday tree, so that I can bring it out next year. I would save that all as a linked set, give it a name, save it. I could delete it next year. I could pull that up and just have it plop right down there again and have it exactly the same. And that is awesome. It's useful if you build, like, say you built a couch, a custom couch on one side of the room, and then later you discover, oh man, it really needs to go on this side of the room. You could link it all together, drag it over, or you can copy it, copy the whole entire set and put 2 of them in if you want. I did that quite a bit. The other favorite tool of mine is the difference tool, where you copy, like, say, let's just lay out an example here. Wow, do I not have any pillars here? Wait a minute, this is like acting all weird. There we go. So say I've got, just use the Chua pillar for a good example. So like you start out with, not going to be perfectly angled because I'm not going to really worry about it. Start out with 1, you place the duplicate, you lift it up a bit, do that, and maybe even turn it a little bit. This is a good way to make a spiral staircase. So you have your offset like you want, right? What you do is with Katya's add-on, you take the first one, you copy it to slot 1, you click the second one, you copy that to slot 2, and then you say clone, and then difference, and it builds it for you. You just place it, clone, difference, difference, and here you have a little stairway being built. It's kind of a broad spiral. I mean, it would be like really huge the way I've done it, but if you want to keep it a nice tight curve so that every piece is like centered on a little like a pole or something, that would be very feasible. If you don't want to do a spiral, you just don't want to do a normal staircase, for my for my skating rink downstairs, that's how I built this staircase. I just copied and then just difference all the way down. From each little section, I just had it turned and I copied from one to the other, and it just makes it so much better. If you're doing like fences, anything that you need to copy and have it exactly lined up as the predecessor to those, is great for that. She also has the tool where you can, say you have one item here, and you want to find the center of that. She has a tool that does that. She's got a visitor tool built into it, so like rather than always having to call up this little window and typing in the name, you could just write in your chat just /visit and then the name, and it takes you straight to the plot. So I can just say, of course you got to get the name right, but I typed in my alt and now it's going straight to their plot. It has to be public, of course. She's also got a built-in plot finder where you can find particular plots, like if you know plots that have specific like expeditions or challenges that you're trying to farm, you can do that. She's also got a decor shopper. You hit the scan once, and then from there on, you can just type in, like, say you want to look up any windows that are in game. Now, the only thing about the shopper is it will show things that aren't in game as well. She doesn't have any way of differentiating between what is live and what isn't, but like you can see, like there's actually some different windows that aren't live yet, but that are in the database. So it kind of gives you an idea, and this is like one way to preview like Winterfest things. You can already kind of see them in game even before the event hits live, because the things are already in the database. So it's a good way of sneak peeking, but it's also a way to kind of preview things, because you can just select the item and then it calls up a bigger preview that you can rotate just like you would on an item preview that you have in your actual inventory or whatever. So it's much easier to kind of say, well, do we have anything that's Draken related, and you can just call up everything that's Draken in the name at least. So like, see, this is new. I hadn't seen this before. It's Draken Stairs. It's stuff that's coming, I guess. It's just not been released yet. But it's fun, because like here's like some shields. It's always nice to see stuff that's coming down the road. It's like, yeah, I can do that. I like that kind of stuff. Or like we've gotten the new particle kind of things with the fire and the lightning. Well, that's not all that's coming, apparently. They've got particle, like little dust mites and stuff. Lots of other kinds of water coming, splashes and little puffs and sprays and everything. So it's a good way of previewing not only what's in the game, but what's on the way. And so that's kind of fun. But that's all built in. And of course, like every time there's a bug in housing, if she's able to correct it, she will. Like recently with the latest patch, we had the issue where when you went to your crate, you couldn't use the search function. It just wouldn't register that you typed in anything. And she fixed that like the same day with her add-on. So she's really good about staying on top of keeping that up to date and highly functional. Unfortunately, she doesn't have an actual demo video that's up to date. There is one out, but it's like in the early stages of when she was building this toolkit together. She's added so much since then. It's just unreal. And I know a lot of people have been asking, for her to, do an updated one, but I think her priority is more on keeping the add-on itself up to date and functional. Because, every time you add something, it might mess something else up. So she's always working out the bugs and kinks. And of course, she's got like pages and pages of wish lists from people that have said, hey, can you add this? Or can you add that? Or can you fix this? And so when she does have free time, she really tries to work on adding new features to the toolkit. I do know she was considering setting up some classes on EU side. She already does some on NA side. But I haven't heard anything more back from her on that. I don't know if it was because there just wasn't a really big calling for it. I mean, I asked around several places. I mentioned it here on the stream, and I just only had maybe like a handful of people say, yeah, they'd be interested. Maybe it just wasn't enough that she felt it warranted scheduling up some time. I don't know, but I'll get back with her on that. I think she's been busy trying to keep up with all of the new stuff that's been coming out, and of course fixing the bugs and stuff. And of course, with it being the holidays, it's a rough time for everybody, not only in game but in real life. There's a lot of family get-togethers going on or in the works, and so it may be better after the new year that I approach her again about it and see if we can get some of that going on. But now for anyone that's, even if they're an old pro like myself, I think it would be beneficial to attend one of her classes, because there's probably a lot of buttons I don't use because I'm kind of nervous about touching too much because I'm afraid I might mess something up. But um, it's one of those things where I don't think it would be harmful to attend one of her classes if you could get a chance to. So, yeah, Bones, you were one of the handful that said yes. I would like. I had even a few maybes. They, weren't sure like her hours, what days she was going to plan, what times. Because again, she's in A side, so our time difference is pretty rough for her. And us if we tried to match it nicely. So either she would have to stay up really late or we would, one or the other. So I don't know. But yeah, if I hear about that again, I'll be sure and reconfirm and let her know that there are people interested. It's just might not be like hordes of people. But I'm sure if she, I was surprised that she asked me to kind of feel around. I figured it would probably be better if she like posted it in the forum, like on Java's side or something, or even in the housing forum and see if there was a lot of interest, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that, not everybody watches this silly stream, obviously. So I think it would be better to get the word out in other ways. Maybe she could just tweet it, if nothing else, and have other people kind of share her tweet and get the word out. But then again, maybe she's wanting to kind of keep it small because, it's kind of meant to be like, not exactly a one-on-one, but a little bit more intimate, being able to teach people how to use her toolkit. But seriously, I really think she would be better off, updating her demo. But because the add-on has become so elaborate and integral in how a lot of us builders use it, it may just be kind of a big undertaking just to make the tutorial. She might have to actually break it down into sections, have like part 1, part 2, part 13 kind of thing, just splice it out. In fact, I might mention that to her, that maybe that would be an easier way for her to tackle it, do it in stages and in specific parts. Just do a copy paste one to talk about how you do with the stairs, and then do one just about working with sets, and do another one with just about this or that. And that might be easier for her rather than trying to cram it all into one humongous demo video. But yeah, if you're thinking about housing, definitely give it a try. I can honestly say it's not for everybody. My husband is a clear example of that. He finds it funny, and when he's like kind of waiting for something to queue, he'll kind of fiddle around in it. But you have to have a temperament and a patience and lots of time on your hand, kind of doodle around on it, and not have not be intimidated by what others are doing. Just focus on what you're doing. Start small, go bigger as you get more confident and that kind of thing. Anyway, I said it was into time and I just kept rattling on, so apologies. But thank you again for dropping in. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Mine's going to be busy, I think. We're already starting to plan our holiday meal, so I'm starting to think, okay, what all do we need to buy? And, is there anything I can get now that I don't have to worry about getting later? And blah, blah, blah. So I should be back Monday, though. I don't foresee any kind of issues with that. Hopefully, while I have coughed a little bit today, you can tell that things have really calmed down in that regard. So I'm feeling lots better. I'm not getting as much good sleep as I would like, because my husband still snores like a bear. But beyond that, the illnesses have really kind of subsided. So that's a plus. And just in time for the holidays, thankfully. But yeah, have a great weekend. Good luck with your own projects if you happen to be working on one. I expect Bones to be working on the winter plot for their alt. And I'll see you guys next week.